Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 and Dragon Ball Legends. These games have been out for roughly the same amount of time, but I've never seen anyone try to give these two games a comparative overlap. Yes, I know one's a console game and one's a mobile game, but they were both developed and published by the same production company, being Bandai and Dimps. So I'm going to take it upon myself to compare the narrative of both these games' stories, specifically the main character of Dragon Ball Legends, Shallot, and the main character of Xenoverse 2, Future Warrior 2. We're going to break down the best characteristics of each of these two, and who does what better than the other. Let's get started. Shallot is the main protagonist of the game Dragon Ball Legends. He's a Saiyan from ancient times who was displaced into the beginning of the timeline of Dragon Ball Z during the Raditz arc. However, along with being thrown into a different timeline, he's also lost most of his memories and doesn't even remember where he was or where he's from. The only thing he does remember is his name, Shallot.
I'm game!
Though Shallot doesn't remember who he was, he still retains his personality. Even in just the first few stages of the game, we learn of Shallot's character. Like most Saiyans, he loves to fight and is a bit aggressive. But we see that he also has a clear sense of morality. Shallot shows clear disapproval of hurting children, like when Raditz abuses Kid Gohan during the Raditz saga. Shallot also shows immediate disliking towards characters like Frieza and Turles. Shallot even makes allies with Vegeta and Nappa in an effort to save a human woman who has no connection to him, being Bulma. We as the player get to know the character Shallot not only through his actions, but also through his lines and voice acting. Due to this, we know that Shallot is his own character with his own personality and his own goals. We as the player don't get to decide the path Shallot takes, nor do we get to change any of his decisions once he's made them. Essentially, our role as the player is to play through Shallot's lens in his story. We're the narrator of his world and fight through the battles of his journey. Shallot's development as a character is completely irrelevant to how we feel as the player. Now, on to the Xenoverse 2 protagonist. Future Warrior 2 is a Saiyan, part of an unspecified point in the Dragon Ball series, most likely after the Tournament of Power, with the job occupation Time Patroller. Someone who sets out on missions to thwart attempts of people trying to rewrite or alter history. Which might not sound like a common problem, but seeing as how the last guy I was talking about was taken from his timeline and thrown into the future with no issues whatsoever, this is a pretty big problem in Universe. Now, unlike Shallot, whose personality becomes very apparent at the first few missions, Future Warrior 2 is voiceless, meaning we can only learn the character solely through his actions and interactions with other people. It's also hard to determine where his morality lies for most of the game, as he's indifferent to training under people who are pure-hearted, as well as under those who are pure evil. I think it's safe to say that the Xenoverse protagonist is driven by the goals of the player themselves. We have the reign to decide what kind of person our protagonist is, whether that be someone who haphazardly does their job, always losing rank to the Kanton City hero, or someone who strives to be the greatest for the city. Even in most of the interactions for our protagonist, the conversations end with either a simple head nod or the characters getting into a fight. Although, given the nature of the majority of the fights, not just in the game, but also in the story, I wouldn't argue against someone who says our protagonist is good at heart, since most of their fights happen under the pretext of trying to right others' wrongs. Although, the way that the next DLC is being teased makes it seem like the protagonist is going to be the main focus of that story arc, meaning this video might become completely invalidated by that time, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Now that we're acquainted with the characters, let's compare the two and see who does what better than the other. The first category we'll go over is narrative. Who has the best narrative under the context of the situation or situations they're put in via the story? And I think this one is pretty clear. The answer is Shallot. Shallot's character prospers through the story as we're put in various canon events to show us Shallot's resolve. Whenever Shallot is put in a situation that might break or change his character, that's when the character shines the brightest. Future Warrior 2 is placed in a lot of the same situations from beginning to end, but with ever-changing opposition. We don't really get to see the Future Warrior's personality in dire situations. We don't know if they feel fear when facing extremely strong opponents. We don't know if the protagonist feels anxious when fighting battles with the universe on the line. We just know that they're always willing to do it, which in and of itself isn't bad writing depending on how you interpret it. You could say it's the protagonist being fearless, or that they're duly committed to their job and are always willing to get the job done no matter the opposition. But when compared to a character who's firing on all cylinders, has the actions, the interactions, and the lines to back up who they are, this matchup becomes pretty much unfair. Future Warrior 2 loses out on this category for having a lack of voice lines in the game. Now, onto the second category. Immersion/connection to the player. When I play this game and I play as this character, how well connected to the character do I feel? How well immersed am I in the narrative whenever this character is on screen or when I'm playing them? This category, I'm giving it to Future Warrior 2. Though Shallot is a great written character with some truly awesome moments, in my mind, it's hard to give him the win over the literal player insert, that is Future Warrior 2. The most you can do with Shallot is change his ultimate skill and the outfit he's wearing. Meanwhile, you can completely customize all of Future Warrior 2, the hairstyle, the outfit, skin tone, eye shape, height, skill set, fighting style, the list goes on. It's impossible to be more immersed with a predetermined character than your own creation. You are the ones experiencing your created character's story, and since they're mute, your actions completely decide the kind of person Future Warrior 2 is in all aspects. There isn't even an argument I can give to Shallot here. Future Warrior 2 pretty handily takes this round. Now, onto the last and final category. Who does it better? Given the context of the story and what we're allowed to know and do as the player, which character plays their role better? And Shallot.
I'm game!
I had the answer in the back of my mind before I even started making this video, although this could have been much closer if Xenoverse 2 chose to go all out with the OC thing. A game where picking different answer options leads to different outcomes in the main story. If Xenoverse was able to incorporate something like that into the game, I very likely would have given Future Warrior 2 the edge here. A lot of people don't remember this, but Xenoverse 2's main story has a main ending and it has a secret ending. And for a game with multiple endings, it only makes sense that it shouldn't be hard to incorporate choice-based decision making that affects the story. Now, for why I give Shallot the win over Future Warrior 2. As a character whose thoughts and feelings aren't hidden from the player, it only makes sense I choose Shallot as a better protagonist, where Future Warrior 2 only progresses in strength as his story continues. Shallot progresses in strength, willpower, conviction, dialogue, the list goes on. He's a complete character. I'd even say whatever you consider his least impactful moment is likely better than Future Warrior 2's best moment, because Shallot's battles actually matter to his character as the story goes on. Depending on how you look at it, Future Warrior 2 in some ways is one-dimensional, as they're constantly placed in the same situation with just recycled villains. Whereas even though Shallot goes through a lot of the same battles, it's better written as we're directly given how it's affected him via his voice lines and his thoughts. I really wish I could say more about Future Warrior 2, but there isn't really much that we were given, seeing as how the character doesn't actually have any voice lines, and even when he does speak, it's the winner of Unwritten versus Written protagonist is our written protagonist, Shallot. So what are my final thoughts? I still think Future Warrior 2 has time to develop as a character. While they may be a player insert, that doesn't mean that they can't have great character moments that highlight who they are. Shallot already has all of these things going for him, so it was never a question of who has time to outshine the other. Xenoverse 2 isn't finished, although it might be finishing. Bandai keeps saying that, oh, this is going to be the last DLC. Yeah, we'll see if it's going to be the last DLC. Maybe we'll actually get some really good content, some story for specifically the protagonist, instead of it just being centered around, oh, this person has evil powers now, fight and defeat them. Other than that, I hope you enjoy this video. It took me a while to make. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. Tell me down below what you think, if you agree or disagree with my opinion. I'd like to hear all of your thoughts. If you like this topic, what two other characters would you like to see? Who knows, maybe I'll make this a series depending on how it is. But anyway, this is Saga the Funniest. Thank you for watching.